This is Max and Mia podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Max and Mia podcast. I'm Max.
And I'm Mia, so glad you're here with us today. Whether you're on the bus, at the gym, doing the dishes, welcome. You made a great choice.
You really did. So Mia, how are you doing? How's your day going so far?
Honestly, it started a little rough. I had my alarm set, everything was fine, except my phone was on airplane mode the whole night, so it never actually went off. I woke up naturally 20 minutes late and just had that immediate panic.
That silent alarm betrayal, one of the worst feelings.
The worst. And the worst part is you can't even be mad at anyone. It's just you and your own decisions from the night before. But I made it, so here we are.
That's the right attitude. My day's been pretty good, actually. Had a really productive morning, got a lot done, so I'm feeling good coming into this episode.
Love that. Okay, so here's the thing. Today's episode is all about that question we hear every single day. Someone asks you, "How was your day?" And what do most people say?
Well, most people say good, fine, or maybe okay.
Exactly. And that's it. Conversation over. But what if you could actually describe your day in a way that's interesting, real, and sounds completely natural in English?
That's exactly what we're doing today. We're going to give you the vocabulary, the expressions, and the real phrases that native speakers use to talk about different kinds of days.
Not just good or bad. We're talking about the days where everything goes wrong, the days that surprise you in the best way, and the days that push you way outside your comfort zone.
By the end of this episode, you're going to have a whole new toolkit. So stick around. This one's going to take your English to a whole new level.
All right, let's get into it.
Okay, so let's start with something we've all experienced. The terrible, no good day. The kind of day where you wonder why you even got out of bed.
Oh, I have so many stories. Where do I even start?
Just pick one. The audience needs to hear this.
Okay. So, this happened a few weeks ago. I woke up late, already a bad sign, and I just had this feeling, like when you wake up and something feels off. I couldn't explain it. I just knew it was going to be one of those days.
The instinct was right.
The instinct was completely right. So I rushed to get ready, I skipped breakfast because I had no time, and I ran out the door. Got to my car and flat tire.
Oh no.
Yes, flat tire, of all days. And I just stood there for a second, staring at it, thinking, really?
Of all days, well, that's such a good expression. It means this is the worst possible timing. You'd say, a flat tire? Of all days. It adds that sense of total disbelief.
Exactly. And I want to point out, notice I'm using past simple here. I woke up, I rushed, I ran, I stood. When we're telling a story about something that already happened, past simple is what we use. It's the tense of storytelling.
So what happened next?
So I called a taxi. I figured I'd still make it on time if I left right away. But that taxi took forever. I was just sitting there checking my phone every 30 seconds.
That anxious phone checking loop. You know it's bad when you check, and only 2 minutes have passed.
Exactly. And that's actually a really useful structure. Keep plus verb with ing. I kept looking out the window. I kept hoping it would somehow get better.
It's that feeling of doing something repeatedly, almost without realizing it, usually because you're nervous or frustrated. I kept refreshing the page. I kept looking at the door. Very natural, very common.
And things did not get better. The cab finally showed up, we hit traffic, and I walked into my meeting 20 minutes late. Everyone looked up at me at the same time.
That walk of shame into a late meeting. Everyone's been there.
The worst. And to make matters worse, I'd forgotten the documents I needed for the presentation.
Okay, to make matters worse, write that one down. You use it when something bad happens, and then something even worse happens on top of it. I was already late, and to make matters worse, I forgot my documents. It's a connector that signals, yeah, it gets worse.
And it did keep getting worse. By lunchtime, I'd missed 2 calls, my laptop was running on 4% battery, and I'd left my charger at home, and I spilled water all over my desk.
Everything snowballed.
Everything snowballed. And that's the word, snowball. When a situation snowballs, it means it starts small and just keeps growing and getting worse. One bad thing leads to another, and suddenly you're buried.
So let's talk about how you actually describe a day like that to someone. If a friend asks, "How was your day?" and you had Mia's day, you've got a lot of options beyond just terrible.
You could say, "It was a nightmare, very common, very natural," or "Everything went south." That means everything went wrong. Plans fell apart.
I was at my wit's end. That's an idiom that means you've completely run out of patience or ideas. You're so frustrated you don't know what to do anymore. It's very expressive.
And another great one. It was one thing after another. That perfectly captures that snowball feeling. Just a chain of problems, non-stop.
Now, common mistake time. A lot of learners say, "I have stress," when they mean they feel stressed. We don't say that in English. You say, "I'm stressed," or "I was so stressed out." Stressed is an adjective, so you need the verb to be. It's the exact same story with being tired. You don't say, "I have tired." You say, "I'm tired." We covered that before, but it's worth repeating because it's everywhere.
Another one, learners sometimes say, "My day was very bad," and leave it there. That's grammatically fine, but it sounds flat. Native speakers layer it. They say, "My day was rough," or "My day was brutal," or "Honestly, it was a disaster from start to finish." The detail is what makes it real.
That's right. Now I wonder, has anyone listening ever had a day like Mia's? One of those days where everything just collapsed? Think about it for a second. How would you describe it in English? What words come to mind?
Hold on to that, because by the end of this episode, you're going to have a lot more to say.
Now, let's do a quick vocabulary recap before we move on. So, for a terrible day, your key expressions are, "It was a nightmare," "Everything went south," "Everything snowballed," "To make matters worse," "Of all days," "I was at my wit's end," and "It was one thing after another."
And for the grammar side, when you're telling a story about something that already happened, past simple is your go-to. I woke up, I rushed, I forgot. That's your storytelling tense. And when something keeps happening over and over, usually out of frustration or anxiety, you've got keep plus a verb with ing for repeated actions. I kept checking. I kept hoping. Okay, after that story, we need some good energy. Let's talk about the opposite. The surprisingly good day.
Yes, because these are actually my favorite kind of days. Not the days you plan to be perfect, but the ones that just turn out great when you weren't expecting it.
Exactly. The ones that catch you off guard in the best way.
So I'll share one. A few months ago, I had a day that started really average. Nothing special, nothing exciting on the calendar. I remember waking up thinking, okay, this is just going to be a normal Tuesday.
Famous last words.
Famous last words. So I went to this coffee shop near my place to work for a bit. I do that sometimes. And the barista, completely out of nowhere, just handed me a coffee and said, "This one's on us. We're trying a new blend."
Oh, that's such a good start to a day.
Right? And it was delicious. So already I'm feeling good. Then I sat down to work on something I'd been putting off for weeks, a project I'd been dreading, and I just got into it. I was in the zone for like 3 hours straight.
In the zone. We love that expression. It means you're completely focused. Everything's flowing. You're performing at your best without even trying. Athletes use it. Creative people use it. It's universal.
And when I finally looked up, I'd finished the whole thing. Done. Something that had been hanging over my head for weeks, gone in one afternoon.
Hanging over your head. That's an idiom for something that causes you ongoing worry or stress, usually a task or problem you haven't dealt with yet. I had this deadline hanging over my head. It's that background anxiety of an unfinished thing.
So at this point, the day's already great. But then, on the way home, I ran into an old friend I hadn't seen in probably 2 years. We ended up grabbing dinner and just catching up for hours.
Those are the best kinds of days, the ones that just kind of happen out of nowhere.
You can't plan them at all, and I think that's why they feel so good. Because you didn't expect any of it.
And notice the language Max used. I ended up grabbing dinner. End up is a really useful phrasal verb. It means something happened as a result, often something you didn't plan. I ended up staying until midnight. We ended up taking the long route. It describes an outcome that wasn't necessarily your intention.
And it turned out. Another great one. It turned out to be a great day. Turn out means the final result or outcome of something. You use it when you're reflecting back. I thought it was going to be boring, but it turned out to be amazing.
So, how do you actually describe a day like this when someone asks?
You could say, "It was one of those days." And the tone tells everything. Said with a smile, it means an unexpectedly wonderful day. Or, "I didn't see it coming, but it was genuinely great."
It made my day. That's a classic. Something small happens that completely lifts your mood. The free coffee made Max's day. You can use it for big things or tiny things. She remembered my name, and honestly, it made my day.
And I was on cloud 9. That's the idiom for extreme happiness, that floating feeling when everything is going well. After finishing that project, I was on cloud 9. Very natural, very common.
Now, a grammar point that fits really well here. I didn't expect to, but I really enjoyed it. The structure. I didn't expect to plus verb is something learners sometimes avoid because it feels complicated, but native speakers use it constantly. For example, I didn't expect to like it, but I loved it. I didn't expect to stay so long, but we ended up talking for hours.
Common mistake here. Learners sometimes say, "I didn't expected" with the past tense on both verbs. But no, with didn't, the second verb stays in base form. I didn't expect, not I didn't expected. The didn't already carries the past tense.
Also, people sometimes confuse funny and fun. These are different words. Fun describes something enjoyable. It was so fun. Funny means it made you laugh. It was so funny. A day can be fun without being funny, and something can be funny without being fun. They're not interchangeable.
Okay, a question for everyone listening right now. Think about the last time you had an unexpectedly good day. What happened? Was it one big thing or a series of small things? How would you describe it?
Try to think of at least 2 or 3 phrases from this section you could use to describe it. That's how this vocabulary becomes yours, when you connect it to your own life.
All right, before we move on, let's quickly go over what we just covered. If you had a day like that, you'd say you were in the zone. Something made your day, or you were on cloud 9. And for phrasal verbs, remember end up and turn out. Those two are going to come up constantly in real conversations.
And on the grammar side, watch out for that structure. I didn't expect to. The verb after didn't always stays in base form. I didn't expect to stay so long. I didn't expect to enjoy it that much. Simple rule, easy to mess up. All right, we're at the halfway point of the episode, and we want to stop here for a second.
Because we want you to actually use what you're learning. Not just listen, use it.
So here's what we want you to do. Pause this episode right now. Think about your last week. Pick one day, any day, and describe it out loud in at least 4 sentences. Use past simple. Use at least one phrasal verb. Try to use one idiom. And really try to go beyond, it was good or it was bad.
Push yourself to say something real. Something you'd actually say to a friend. We'll wait.
Seriously, pause. We'll be right here. How did that go? Even if it felt hard, even if you searched for words, that's the work. That's exactly what moves you forward.
And just a quick reminder, if you enjoyed today's episode, please remember to subscribe and leave a like. It really helps us out and lets us keep bringing you content like this.
And if you're getting value from these episodes, please hit subscribe wherever you're listening. It genuinely helps us reach more learners around the world. And it means you never miss an episode.
Okay, one more type of day to go. And this one might be the most relatable of all.
Okay, last one. And I think this might be the most interesting because almost everyone has experienced this. A day that took you somewhere new. A new job, a new city, a new situation. A day that was uncomfortable and exciting and terrifying all at once.
The first day somewhere. There's nothing quite like it.
Nothing. So Max, do you have one of these?
Oh, absolutely. My first day at a new job a couple of years ago. I remember driving there thinking, I almost turned around twice.
Really?
Genuinely almost turned around. I didn't know anyone. I didn't know the building. I didn't know the culture. I didn't know what they expected from me. I was walking into complete uncertainty.
And that feeling has a name in English. Being out of your comfort zone. It means you're in a situation that feels unfamiliar and uncomfortable, where you don't have the security of routine or experience. It's not necessarily bad, but it's not easy.
So I walked in, and immediately this thing happened where I didn't know where to stand. Like, do I go to reception? Do I wait by the door? Do I just walk in confidently and pretend I know where I'm going?
The classic fake it till you make it moment.
Exactly. Fake it till you make it. That's a really common expression that means you act confident even when you don't feel confident. because eventually the confidence becomes real. It's very useful for any situation where you're out of your depth.
Out of your depth. Another great one. It means you're in a situation where the demands are beyond your current ability or experience, like being thrown into the deep end. You can say, I felt completely out of my depth, or I was in over my head. Both mean the same thing. You're dealing with something more than you can comfortably handle.
And I felt both of those things simultaneously. My new manager introduced me to the team, and I had to remember probably 15 names in about 4 minutes, which is impossible.
Completely impossible. The brain just refuses.
It just refuses. And I kept nodding and smiling, and internally I was just blank. I was taking it all in, but nothing was sticking.
Taking it all in. That's a phrasal verb meaning to absorb or process a lot of new information or experiences at once. You use it when you're in a new environment, and your brain is working overtime just to register everything. It was my first day in New York, and I was just taking it all in.
And the other one I used, nothing was sticking. That's informal, but very natural. When information sticks, it means it stays in your memory. When it doesn't stick, everything goes in and immediately disappears. Very relatable for language learners too, right?
Very. And the tense we're using a lot here, I was walking, I was thinking, I was taking it all in. That's past continuous. When you're describing the background atmosphere of a moment, what was happening around you, how you were feeling in that stretch of time, past continuous is your friend. Compare. I walked in, one action, past simple, versus I was shaking the whole time, an ongoing state, past continuous.
By the afternoon, I'd survived the morning, which felt like a win. Someone invited me to join a lunch group, and I said yes, even though every part of me wanted to just hide somewhere quietly.
That's so brave, though, because that's the hardest part of a new situation. Choosing to engage when you could just retreat.
And it paid off. By the end of the day, I'd had one real conversation, remembered 3 people's names, and found the bathroom without getting lost. Solid first day.
Honestly, that's a win.
Small victories. And that's something worth saying. On a day out of your comfort zone, you have to redefine what success looks like. Success isn't perfection. It's surviving, showing up, and doing one thing that scared you.
How do you describe this kind of day when someone asks about it? A few really good options. It was a lot to take in, meaning it was intense and overwhelming in terms of new information. Or, I was a bundle of nerves. That's an idiom meaning you were extremely nervous. I was a bundle of nerves all morning.
I was thrown in at the deep end. Another idiom. It means you were put into a challenging situation without much preparation. It comes from the idea of learning to swim by being put in the deep part of the pool. They really threw me in at the deep end on that first day.
Then you've got, I didn't know what to expect. Simple and to the point. Or, if you're reflecting on the situation, try, looking back, it wasn't as bad as I thought. You can swap the word bad for whatever fits. It wasn't as tough as I thought. It's just a really natural way to compare what you expected with what actually happened.
Common mistakes for this type of situation. People sometimes say, I was nervous for the interview, when they mean, I was nervous about the interview. In English, we're nervous about something, not for something. I'm nervous about my presentation. She was nervous about meeting them.
And don't confuse uncomfortable and inconvenient. Uncomfortable is about feelings. The situation made me uncomfortable. Inconvenient is about logistics. The timing was inconvenient. They sound similar in structure but mean very different things.
One more question for you. When was the last time you did something that pushed you out of your comfort zone? It doesn't have to be a new job, a new class, a new city, a conversation in English with a stranger. Think about it. How did you feel walking in? How did you feel walking out?
And here's the thing. The fact that you're listening to this podcast in English, that counts. Every episode, every new word you pick up, you're doing exactly this. You're choosing discomfort because you know it leads somewhere better. Okay, before we wrap up, let's do a final recap of the whole episode. Fast, clean, and useful.
For a terrible, no good day. It was a nightmare. Everything went south. To make matters worse, everything snowballed. I was at my wit's end. It was one thing after another. Past simple for storytelling.
For a surprisingly good day, in the zone, it made my day. I was on cloud 9, end up, turn out, hanging over my head. Remember, I didn't expect a plus verb and didn't always takes the base form of the verb.
For a day out of your comfort zone, fake it till you make it. Out of your depth, taking it all in, a bundle of nerves thrown in at the deep end. Past continuous for the atmosphere and feelings. Nervous about something, not for something.
And across all three, don't just say good or bad. Layer it. Use specifics. Say something real. That's what makes your English sound natural.
The goal was never to speak perfectly. The goal is to be understood, to connect, and to express what's actually happening inside you. And today you got a whole new set of tools to do exactly that.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode. If something clicked for you today, if one expression made you think, yes, I needed that, share this episode with someone who's also learning English. That's how this community grows.
Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Drop a comment there. We genuinely love hearing from you.
You've been listening to Max and Mia Podcast. I'm Mia.
And I'm Max. We'll see you in the next one.
Take care.
To keep taking your English to the next level, click on the next video or explore the others we've made for you.